Now, given that The Mandalorian Season 3 is officially over and has become a thing of the past, a lot of fans are now gearing up for other show announcements that will be unveiled, by the way, at, of course, D23 later this year, given that Star Wars Celebration is now a thing of the past as well. And a lot of fans have really been listening to what Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau have been teasing and saying about the future of Star Wars, and even dropping new truths about what happened behind closed doors over at Lucasfilm for some of the existing ones. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now, there's a lot of things happening between George, John, and Dave, working together as a trio, if you will, and there are a lot of great projects on the horizon, let's be honest. I mean, the Ahsoka show is looking very promising. They already greenlit a second season for that actual show, showing that Dave Filoni has a lot of confidence in it. And be aware, guys, that Dave Filoni wrote the entirety of Ahsoka, so it's a different animal. It's probably going to be very different than the writing of The Mandalorian, the writing of Andor, or anything else Star Wars. And so that's, I think, one thing that you need to be aware of, is that the writing is going to be drastically different for Ahsoka, and probably in a great way. Now, the thing about Dave Filoni is that he had a couple of things to reveal to the fan base over the past couple of days. One of the most recent things had a lot to do with a very big truth about one thing that happened between himself, Kathleen Kennedy, Gina Carano, and some of the characters like Ahsoka, Bo-Katan, and Cara Dune, and how it all pertains to Mando Season 3. We're going to be tapping into every single corner about this, so let's get right into it. Now, with many new Star Wars projects in the works by Disney and Lucasfilm, recently both Filoni and Favreau have been making big reveals to the fandom. Filoni recently dropped a hard truth to fans by stating the following. Well, earlier on, when we were scripting the story for Season 3, we had the story set in motion before Gina was let go from this season as Cara Dune, where we wanted to have Cara meet with both Bo-Katan and Ahsoka Tano in Season 3 to make on, of course, some of the existing scenarios on some of Thrawn's forces. This was a very big element that we had written before Gina's departure from this one, and we had the whole thing planned mid-season that was going to set up Thrawn's new empire, essentially, or at least a new faction, if you know. We had Rosario, Katie, and Gina all prepped to have this explosive and energetic action scene against these special foes, a part of Thrawn's army, that was going to take place on Mandalore. This was going to be Ahsoka's first appearance and only appearance in the show, coming to Cara and Bo-Katan's aid. We unfortunately had to scrap this entire scene because of Cara's role getting excluded at the time, since she played such a massive role in helping Ahsoka and Bo-Katan. It just did not work with that without here. Now, let me just stop here for a second about what Dave is saying, is that basically what it sounds like is that Gina getting fired from The Mandalorian Season 3 and from the entirety of Lucasfilm, you know, everything related to that, really messed things up for John and Dave's plan for Mando Season 3. And look, I still like the finale the way that it came out. It may have had some flaws here and there, yes, for sure, but the setup and the overall structure of this episode is just superior than all previous 7 ones. But Gina's departure, her firing, really altered the story of one of the episodes that was going to feature the moment that we got in the finale. So basically everything about the Empire being settled on Mandalore to a degree, this was going to be switched over originally to mid-season instead of being the finale, where you were going to have Ahsoka, Cara Dune, Bo-Katan infiltrating this hidden base and taking down this new empire, or this hidden empire, if you will. And it was going to be a part of Thrawn's forces. Obviously, you can see drastic things have changed. Instead, these forces are more loyal, or a part of Gideon's faction, so to speak. And so, there's a lot of things happening here, is that you can see that, given that Dave Filoni was writing this episode, it was going to be very much in tune with a lot of the character cameos taking on a bigger story that would eventually connect to Star Wars Ahsoka. Now, given that I like the Shadow Council, I like how they name-dropped Thrawn, and I like how they name-dropped Project Necromancer, stuff around those lines, But moving on, he goes on to elaborate. Apart from that, though, Kathy suggested, and yes, this is where he talks about Kathy again, this was way too over the top anyway for something like Mandalorian, and pushed us to keep it simple as Gideon's forces inside of Mandalore, where we should focus strictly on Din and Bo-Katan and the other Mandalorians, taking them on. Killing off Paz Vizsla was also something Kennedy pressured us to incorporate as a sacrifice to enhance the story and make him live on within his son Ragnar. So we unfortunately did not get to tell the story that we wanted to tell, but it is something sometimes you just have to deal with. We are doing amazing things just like that. However, in our upcoming Ahsoka series, I'm so proud of getting the chance to do that. So here's the thing, guys. I mean, as much as I like the finale of Season 3, I can't help but notice there's a lot of parallels to The Last Jedi, and there's no coincidence. You got Praetorian guards. You've got a lot of flames falling, of course, in the scene, and very much similar to what happens right before Gideon's supposed demise. You have a specific weapon getting destroyed in the same exact scenario, right after the Praetorian guards are killed off. It's just like The Last Jedi. You know, you have the Skywalker saber get ripped apart. Here, you have the dark saber getting crushed. It's just very odd that you have these coincidental parallels that were made, of course, by Kathleen Kennedy. It almost came across like the finale was well written by Dave and John, but you had Kathleen Kennedy somewhat interfering to almost create this into like a reincarnated take on The Last Jedi in some areas. There's no doubt about that. I can see everything about these parallels that were thrown in there, but I digress. The thing about Dave Filoni saying this here is interesting at best because they really wanted to make this a cameo-heavy episode, and it was going to be earlier on in the season. It wasn't going to be the finale. I know a lot of fans keep telling me that they felt like the finale for Season 3 felt more like a series finale. That's how fans felt, because there was no climax, there was no suspense at the end. It just felt like that was the end of the story. And I think a lot of that might also have to do with the fact that maybe they weren't so confident in this show because, you know, Kathleen Kennedy just does not know how to handle Star Wars at the end of the day. But moving on, you can see now that Gina's firing really did alter a lot of different things in the script, but it wasn't just that. It was Kathleen Kennedy interfering, and it was a common misconception. Yes, Kathy was not involved in Mando Season 3, but as it turns out, she wasn't involved only during principal photography. She was during the scripting phase, and that makes a lot more sense now, given that she has lost her creative power and is dedicated only to Acolyte and Skeleton Crew, for now at least. Mando Season 4 is in the clear, as well as Ahsoka and Ahsoka Season 2. So overall, you know, I would love to hear, you know, what everyone has to say about all of this below in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. And I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon we hear them moans again.